Let's talk about greenwashing. I think when we spend our hard-earned money on products that we believe are more sustainable, when we go out of our way to make a better choice for the environment and for our future, we don't want to fall into the trap, believe into the lies of some corporations trying to make us buy stuff that is not what it seems. So how can we spot greenwashing and how can we avoid buying things that don't align with our values? I think it's a complex topic and I don't know everything, but I'm going to do my best to try to help you learn how to see greenwashing, how to make choices that are informed, and how to buy what you actually want. So let's get started. We are first going to talk about sustainability claims that brands make. Then we're going to talk about what we can see like from the actual garments they're selling, because I'm going to talk about the fashion industry today, but I think you can use the same principles and apply them to other kinds of products as well. And then we're also going to talk about like how they're doing business in general. So when we're wondering if a brand is sustainable or as sustainable as they claim, or if it's a brand that we want to support, that we want to buy from, we go to their website. And I think a first good idea is to look at the overall page and maybe also take a look at the about page. What does the brand claim to do about sustainability? Maybe they even have like a separate sustainability page. We're going to look for 3 things here, and the first is like the overall things they're claiming that they're doing. Like, are they saying we are 100% sustainable? That's actually a very red flag, because nothing can be 100% sustainable, and if it's just a broad statement like that, then we can't really give it any value. So what are they claiming they're doing? Like, do they have certain projects they support? Do they just want to get rid of single-use coffee cups at their headquarters? Do they actually look at their whole supply chain, and how are their ideas towards becoming more carbon neutral? How do they want to produce products that are sustainable themselves? How does the whole brand operate in order to be more sustainable? And I think the more specific the claims are there, the more likely it is that the brand is actually kind of sustainable. The next thing that we want to look for is proof. How transparent are they? Is there proof that they're doing something sustainable? Is there a sustainability report, for example? In the EU, above a certain like size of company, you actually have to do a sustainability report annually, as far as I know, but by far not every brand has that or public available. So we just want to see, do they calculate the footprint of their garments? Do they know how much CO2 they're emitting? Do they have they done things in order to be better? Like, has it worked out? Where are they on their roadmap towards a more sustainable company? So I think this is like the next big thing. What is the proof? What are they actually doing? What kind of project are they part of? If they're just offsetting some carbon, if they're just like buying a piece of land and a piece of forest or something, that again is kind of a red flag, because usually that just doesn't do that much. It's sometimes even not sustainable at all. We want to look for signs that they are trying to really do better in their whole supply chain as a business as a whole, like try to make every single step more sustainable. The third thing that we're looking for are certifications. Now, certifications, some brands just make up certifications, give them to themselves and celebrate that they are more sustainable now. That is, of course, stupid. Does not say anything about sustainability. But certifications that prove that they are using organic cotton or being B Corp certified, for example, are things that are absolutely trustworthy. And so I do think certain certifications can be a good pointer to see if a brand is sustainable or not. So this is kind of what are they claiming that they're doing for sustainability? Let's go over to the next step of kind of what do they actually do? What kind of products do they sell, and how are these products made? Now, there are many steps that go into making a garment specifically more sustainable. There is the sourcing of the material, there is the processing, the different steps that are involved in making fabrics, dyeing fabrics, making garments, shipping garments. What we're doing today is we're looking at the fabric itself. That is just one part, but I think that's one part that at least we most likely can see on websites because brands disclose what a piece of clothing is made of. So here I just want to share kind of what I am looking out for when trying to make sustainable choices. So I am looking for natural fibers because they are usually a lot better when it comes to their footprint, plus they're not harmful during production, while being warm, when they're disposed after being used. What I also look for is second-hand animal fibers, just because of their amazing properties, and also again because they're not harmful while being used or after being disposed. And then the third thing I also look for is recycled polyester or recycled plastic materials, but only when it comes to garments that kind of have to be made out of plastic, like rain jackets or certain shoes or certain bags, for example. Things that I try to avoid when it comes to fabrics is mixed fabrics. And that is because as soon as fibers are mixed, it's very, very hard to recycle. Plus, a lot of times, there's a lot of stuff mixed in there that's not sustainable, as like virgin plastic fibers, for example. But I do have to say, if there's a small percentage of elastane, I think that's a good idea because sometimes it even makes a garment live longer, more stretchy. And so that is something that's okay for me, like a content of up to 5% elastane. But for when it's not necessary, I want to have a 100% natural fiber garment. What I also try to avoid is new animal fibers, just because of the animal cruelty that just happens way too regularly in the fashion industry. And then what I also avoid is recycled polyester, or even more so, new polyester clothing if it's not necessary. Polyester, and there are other fibers that are made out of plastic, and I mean all of those, they are just shedding microplastic when being used. They are usually harmful while being produced. They have a higher carbon footprint, and they're just, through the whole lifespan, they are horrible for the environment and for the people. And a lot of brands claim to make sustainable pieces because they're using recycled materials, recycled plastic, even like kind of fishing plastic out of the ocean. But if you're making pieces out of it that just shed microplastic, then I don't think that's a good idea. It's better to go for natural fibers and make something else out of this plastic that actually has to be made out of plastic. So that's the first part of like the actual pieces they produce. The second part is ethics. And yes, we're talking about sustainability here in this video, but I think sustainability and ethics go hand in hand. Because if you're trying to make all of these sustainable garments, if you're trying to be such a sustainable brand, to be good to the environment, to not harm our planet, but you're mistreating the people while making your garments, then I'm not really sure why you're even being sustainable, because we as people are part of this planet. The other way around, if you're being super ethical but produce horribly unsustainable pieces, these unsustainable pieces will again hurt the people that are using them and producing them, so it doesn't really make sense. So here I do think that it really does make sense to just look at where is a garment produced, because there are certain countries that have very strong regulations when it comes to labor, and so the chances of human rights violations are very low. But there, of course, it's also important to know that no matter where it's being produced, it can be produced ethical and it can be produced unethical. So it makes sense to see how transparent a brand is, if they actually disclose in which factories they produce, and if the factories themselves have certifications that ensure living wages, fair treatment of workers, and just like an overall ethical way of doing business. And I think these two things are something that we should look out for when it comes to like the actual pieces that they're selling. And it's usually information that is available. And if there's no information available about how it's produced and what the piece is actually made of, then that's a huge, huge red flag. Talking about red flags, now let's move on to the third part of evaluating if a brand is sustainable or not. And that is kind of the overall way of doing business. And here I just want to mention a few red flags that point into the direction of greenwashing and kind of prove to me that a brand is not sustainable or not as sustainable as they claim. Red flag number one, if they constantly have sales and try to make you buy a bunch of stuff you don't need, because you can't buy your way to sustainability. If you're buying something you don't need, it's not sustainable. And if a brand is trying to make you buy stuff you don't need, they're not acting sustainably. Of course, advertisement is a part of doing business, and I don't think like a sustainable brand can't do any kind of advertisement and any kind of discount. That's not true, but I think we should be a bit careful. And if a brand is overly promoting discounts, sales, wanting to make you buy stuff you don't need, then that's not a sustainable way of doing business. The second red flag is low prices. Now, high prices do not ensure good quality or sustainable practices. It also can just mean that there's a high profit margin, but low prices at a certain point just can't offer sustainable and ethically made pieces. And of course, you never really know. It highly depends on where it's produced. And it's a privilege to buy pieces that cost a lot of money. So keep that in mind. But I think it's a good idea to also look at the pricing, because if the pricing is ridiculously low, the chances that it's produced very sustainably is also pretty low. The next red flag is if the business is huge in general and offers a lot of styles. Now, a lot of styles in general does not necessarily mean they're not sustainable, but it goes kind of hand in hand with frequent drop of new stuff, frequent sales, and frequently saying like, this is gonna end, this is coming new, you have to buy it right now if you want to have it, which again kind of promotes buying stuff you don't need. Plus, if a brand just offers thousands of styles, then it's highly likely that they also have thousands of garments that will never be sold, that they will burn, because that's like a highly used practice to just get rid of stuff that's not being sold, and it's very, very unsustainable. So if a brand just has a huge variety of stuff, and especially also if just a part of that is sustainable, I don't think the brand actually cares about sustainability that much, and more so about promoting sustainability to you and making you buy more stuff, which is not sustainable. Now, when we talk about these huge brands and how that is really kind of a sign that it's maybe not the most sustainable brand if they're kind of a huge capitalist dream of profiting, of having these large stocks of stuff and offering everything, then let's also take a look at small brands. Because here I do want to say a small business, a small brand is more sustainable just by existing as a small brand. So I am not as critical when it comes to buying from small businesses. I think it's a great idea to support someone's dream, someone's hard work when it comes to like being a small business. And they oftentimes do not have certifications because these are time consuming and cost intensive. So I think it's okay to purchase from small businesses, even if you don't really know 100% everything that you might want to know from a bigger brand. The other way around, I think if the corporation is huge and they're claiming to be sustainable, then I would take a really, really close look to see if it's actually true what they're saying, because most likely they have a huge budget for marketing. And so I think they should also use a huge budget to actually making an effort to be more sustainable. Now, of course, this is not everything when it comes to greenwashing. I'm sure I also forgot some stuff that I wanted to mention, but I also know that it's already a lot and that sometimes we do not have the time to do intensive research and make sure that everything that we buy is the most sustainable by reading through websites and certifications for hours. So actually, I do have a cheat code for you, and that is a website that I really like to use myself if I don't have the time to research or just to get like a second opinion or even to discover some new sustainable brands. And the website is called Good On You. Now, this is not sponsored in any way. I'd love them to sponsor my videos, but I just wanted to let you know because it's a resource that I like using myself and I think you can profit from as well. They have a lot of brands, sustainable and not so sustainable, on there, and you just type in the brand you want to know and you see how sustainable they are. You can also see why they rated this sustainable or not sustainable. And I think it's just a great resource. And of course, not every single brand is on there. And I don't think you should not do your own research anymore after using this, but it can just be a good help, I think. So I wanted to let you know. Now, before ending this video, I do want to say that, of course, it's a complex topic. And I think that it's a good idea to learn about greenwashing and learn about sustainability and make informed choices and decisions and purchasing, like putting our money where our values are. But I also think that instead of us consumers having to fight ourselves through greenwashing claims and advertisement and everything, brands should be held accountable by governments and laws to actually just have a certain standard of sustainability and ethics when it comes to producing their goods and doing business in general. So I think it's frustrating, and I think it should be kind of laws doing part of that job for us, while it still does not hurt to be informed and make the best choices that we can with what's available to us and the money we have and the sizes that are available and so on. Another thing I do want to say is that, of course, you can always go shopping secondhand if pieces are available that fit you and it's available near you. I think shopping secondhand is amazing because secondhand pieces kind of have no footprint at all. I love doing it, but I'm certainly also privileged when it comes to having stores and websites accessible and having a body that fits into many clothes that are available secondhand. Now, for the upcoming like Black Friday and everything, I just hope that you make intentional choices when it comes to buying things. If there's a deal that you want to take advantage of, if it's actually a good deal and you need it, make sure to buy it. If it's just tempting to buy something that you don't need, maybe we shouldn't buy it because it's not gonna benefit us in the long run, or it's also not sustainable. I hope this could be helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and also let us know down below in the comments if you have any further tips on avoiding greenwashing, what maybe your favorite brands are to buy from, and just anything else you want to let us know. And now I do want to link you another video that you can check out if you have the time. Now I do want to also say thank you so much to everyone who's supporting me on Patreon, to everyone who's supporting me with super thanks here, or just to everyone who has watched the video until now. Thank you so much. I hope to see you there or in my next video. Goodbye.